Hi, Ben. It's good to see you. It's always great to speak with you, and thank you for your time today. I think maybe before we start, if you can briefly introduce yourself, your background, and your role at Aviva, it would be great.
Yeah, sure, no problem, and good to see you again. So, Ben Luckett, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at the Aviva Group, and my role covers venture investing, venture building, and the internal innovation agenda.
Amazing. And I know that you are very deeply involved in the insurance business for a long time, and you have been doing a lot of investments in this area. And one of our biggest concerns now in the market is the valuations of Insurtech companies. We see a very bad sentiment going on with this industry. And I would like to ask your opinion about, are we sobering or this is temporary? How do you see this crisis now?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think, as always, these answers it's a bit of both. I think what we saw in the first wave of Insurtechs was a significant growth in businesses who are looking to quite rightly disrupt the core insurance industry, but tended to have a focus, I guess, if you will, on the front end of insurance, and by that I mean the customer experience, attracting new customers. And I think the sobering reality is that, as you know, the insurance industry and model is quite complicated, and although we really needed to see some good disruption in customer experience and delivering a better outcome for customers, there's obviously more to that in the value chain, and actually being able to deliver a consistent performance from customer experience through to underwriting, through to claims, through to capital management, through to regulatory compliance, are all very important. And unless you've got all those fundamentals in place, then I think any business in the insurance sector will struggle. And that's not just about Insurtechs, that's about the insurance value chain. And I think what's happened is two things. We've seen some pretty challenging macro market conditions, and we've also seen a change of sentiment when Insurtechs have effectively hit the public markets, and some of the ways that analysts will look at valuations in the public markets, as you know, is very different from the private markets and the venture markets. And I think what's happened is the reality of how the whole economics of the insurance market have played out. A lot have looked at some of the Insurtechs and said, well, actually, yes, we can see that they're attracting a whole load of customers, but is that economic? Do they have their loss costs under control? When are they going to be profitable, etc.? And I think because you've had that kind of public market scrutiny, that has impacted the whole ecosystem, combined with macro, and has led to what you've talked about. So I think there's the sobering piece is right. There's been a rebalancing, which I don't think is unreasonable, because at the end of the day, these companies, like any other, need to give a decent return to their shareholders and enter into a good stage of growth and profitability. But at the same time, as we know, these things go in cycles, and I think good sentiment will return. I'm not sure we'll get back to where we were in the glory days, 21. But at the same time, I think it's more a kind of recorrection, a dose of reality. But I think it's healthy for the industry. I think we've always taken the view that Part of our role is to collaborate with the Insurtechs to, balance capability and support growth, and also really double down on those Insurtechs that are actually solving some of those key value chain problems from a technology perspective, to make some of the incumbents more efficient or more attractive. So my view of the future, it's about collaboration. I think we've been through a really good phase. I think the cycle will come back a little bit, but probably not to the heady heights of what we saw.
I think that's amazing. I totally agree with you, and it reminds me that I forgot to congratulate you on your new fund, which is an amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So these are very good news, because it's like a fresh capital to the industry. So this is absolutely great.
Absolutely, thank you. And that just on that point, and I really appreciate that. You're right. I mean, we still have strong confidence, which is why we're deploying more capital in the Insurtech ecosystem as a whole, because actually the problems that Insurtechs are trying to solve, the customer needs, the opportunities, none of that has gone away. So we think it's a good time to kind of go again in terms of making investments, and there will be some great winners. Yeah,
I absolutely agree, and I think that the good companies with the good unit economics and the good business models will thrive. Yeah. So Ben, this leads me to another question that we are having. Is how do you see the current major 2 or 3 global trends on the insurance industry for the upcoming years?
Yeah, I think without trying to sound too obvious and like everybody else, I think there are 2 or 3 big ones that I think will play out. It's hard to ignore AI. I mean, I think from a generative AI perspective, and I'm sure you're hearing this from everyone you speak to, I think 100%. We are entering a real era of transformation. That is for sure. And I think that that's real, in as much as there's often a gap between the hype and the reality of some of these trends. But for us, the Gen AI piece, there are so many clear use cases around transformation across the industry. I think that's really hard to ignore. The second one, I think, is climate tech. We're not going to, as a society, a country, a globe, deliver our decarbonisation agenda without transformative technology that maybe doesn't even exist today, but will need investment. I think that would be number 2. And I think thinking about also linked to that, number 3 for us is probably in the kind of mobility ecosystem, which I know people have talked about for a long time, but I think there's a lot coming together in terms of sustainability, data, regulation, customer behavior, which means that I think we'll really see the maturing of some of those solutions. So I think off the top of my head, those would be the top 3 that I would suggest.
Yeah, that's great. I think everybody speaks about generative AI. ESG is a huge topic, but recently I saw that the net zero initiative of Allianz, both Zurich, Munich Re, and Hannover Re are now leaving this initiative. So it's interesting for me to see what's going on next in this trend. So let's wait and see. Fantastic. So Ben, thank you so much for your time. It was really great speaking with you, and I always like to hear what you have to say about our industry, because it's great and enlightening. And thank you for your time today.
No problem. Great to speak.
Great to speak with you as well. Cheers.